Hey everyone, it's Matt, and we're just checking if we're actually live streaming again because I can't say this is live streaming. That's weird. We're here, right? Good. All right, sorry about the delay. Anyone watching the replay? So I have to say for Brad, I'm going to check if my mic is working because he commented last time. Always checking the mic. Look, I'm on the wrong mic, so oh, there we go. Oh, we're good. All right, so today we're talking about optimal pricing. This is ideally for, or mostly for fitness businesses, those guys running gyms, martial arts studios, combat sports schools, things like that. And it's based off a few discussions I had with a few people at the Marketing Summit last week on the Sunshine Coast. If you were there, good to see you again. If you haven't been to one of the events, it's really worth going to in terms of really going in depth. I mean, I provide a bunch of content. Lots of people provide content online. There are these short videos like this one, 15 minutes. But when you actually go to an event, immerse yourself there and spend the time, not just looking at your business in depth, but also spending some time with other business owners, having longer conversations. You get into some of them in the finer details, I guess, which for a lot of you in business is what it takes. It's those 1% changes, which is kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So there's really three things here I'm going to talk about. One is like memberships versus class packs. One is membership fees, as in cost of charging memberships, easy debits and things like that. And then the other one is the actual how do you actually price it? Do you do it weekly? Do you do it monthly? How do you bill it and things like that? Because it was that discussion we had there. I mean, you realize that there is potentially quite a lot of money being left on the table for a lot of you guys, depending on how you're framing your memberships. So the first point I'm going to bring up is this idea about class packs versus memberships. And so just to clarify what that means, so your class packs being when someone purchases like 10 passes, so it might be like, it might be $300, or maybe it's, yeah, $300 for a pack of 10, and then you can just use those 10 passes whenever you like. And a membership being, it's $200 a month, and you just pay that membership and you go in for whatever classes you're allowed to go in. Maybe it lets you in for 3 classes a week, maybe it's unlimited, okay? So that's memberships versus class packs. And without going into it in too much depth, because I like to keep these videos brief, the point that I often bring up with people that they want to have a think about is that when you have a class pack, then if someone is thinking about going to a class, doesn't really feel like it, they're kind of having this debate with themselves, do I go, do I not go? Then financially, they actually save money by not going because they can use that pass another day. So it's really justification for that indecisive person, or the person that's not really feeling that great, to not go, right? And this is not just about the fact that they haven't paid for the class, it's about they lose momentum in their training. As we all know, if they skip a session, they're that much more likely to skip the next session, and suddenly they're just not coming in. And they're not going to buy another class pass, let alone sign up for a membership. Versus someone on a membership who, if they're thinking about not going, financially, it will cost them money if they don't go. Because let's say, for example, they're allowed to go to 3 classes a week and it's Saturday morning and they've been to 2 and they don't want to go today. Well, they've already paid for today. So they may as well go because they've already paid for it. And again, when they go today, they're that much more likely to show up at the next session and so on. So I do opt for memberships where possible. I do get there's use cases for class passes for specific circumstances for people. However, if you are a class pass business, there are things that you can do where where you can certainly have a tighter expiry date on them. But again, I've talked to people about those expiry dates and they're just not that great at actually chasing people up. It's just creating more admin of actually following people up, saying your class passes have expired. Plus, if someone's pass really does expire, they don't really feel great about coming and saying, hey, can I buy another class pass? I didn't even use the last one. Can I buy another one? It's not likely to happen. So expiry dates sound good, but in actual execution, I haven't really heard them be very successful. And the other thing to think about is that if you don't offer class passes at all, then yes, you might lose a couple of people who might buy those class passes. But if your only option is a membership, then that's what everyone is on, and everyone's on a membership of some sort. Maybe it's just one or two options. It means you're not having to manage the class passes, and you build that stronger community, the stronger attendance rates that you get with memberships. So it is something worth considering, is moving to memberships as your primary, and then playing with the commitment of a membership or pricing. So instead of having class passes for the non-committed person, you can have a month-to-month membership price, you can have a 6-month contract price, and you can have an annual price. Now, that leads to the next point, which is actually how to price it. As an interlude, I suppose, I'm just going to throw in the third point, which is going to talk about, which is membership fees. Okay, and that is just a very simple one, because I've heard this done differently in different places. I'm just going to give an example. I heard quite a few people at the Com Summit I was talking to saying, well, they actually pass the processing fees on to the client. So I'll give an example of this. I haven't spoken to these guys, but I think that's what they're doing. I'll show you here. So this is a CrossFit in Sydney. And what they do with theirs, you can see on the screen here, is they'll do, here's the membership rates. So they have an unlimited for $52.30 per week. They have a limited at $42.75 per week. And oh, why isn't it scrolling down? Everything's frozen. That's no fun. Let's see if you guys can still see me on the live stream. I'm going to see if I'm still streaming here. It looks like I'm still streaming. I'm going to see if this comes back. In the meantime, while the screen is frozen, what you can't see on the screen below this is they have a question, are there any additional fees? And it states that there are easy debit fees of $2.20. I think it's something like $2.20 per month or per transaction. And it says you can pay weekly or you can pay monthly. If you want to minimize your fees, then you can pay monthly. And so the actual membership fee is the $52 per week. And on top of that is the processing fee that the card processing merchant charges. Okay, so they're passing that on to the client, which is a normal practice in a lot of businesses, but a lot of gyms choose to absorb that, right? So that's another, potentially, if you're doing weekly, it's another $50 a year per member. So if you have 100 members, that's another, what is that, $5,000? There we go, we're back. If I get that right, so 50 times 10 would be 500. Yeah, $5,000 a year potentially in transaction fees that you could actually be could be additional profit for your business. What I'll do is I won't bring back the streaming service because that might have been what locked us out. So it's $5,000 a year right there. Okay, if you had 100 members and you're paying like $1, $2 every single transaction on a weekly membership. So that's the first thing. Now, secondly, the last thing I'll talk about is actually, well, how do you charge weekly, monthly? Now, I did want to share my screen, but obviously Zoom is not playing the game to show you this one. So you'll just have to listen to me and I'll explain this as best I can. But basically, there is, sometimes people don't realize the difference between weekly and monthly in the sense that a weekly membership of $50 a week is not a monthly membership of $200 a month. Because if someone pays you $50 a week, then they'll pay you $50 a week 52 times. If someone pays you $200 a month, then they pay $200 a month 12 times. So you times that by 4, you get 48. So in other words, if you are charging $200 a month, that's $2,400 over the year, right? Bear with me here. If you charge $50 a week, that's $2,600 a year. So that's an extra $200 per client. So if you are saying to people that your memberships are $50 a week and then you're billing them $200 a month, you're actually losing, if you had 100 members, $200 per member, which is $20,000 a year in membership fees. Versus if you said it's $50 a week and you build 200, and I think it's I wrote this down somewhere, and you build it at $216 a month, because that's actually what it is monthly, then that's an additional $20,000 of revenue per month for exactly the same service, right? And that's at 100 members. So it is significant as an amount of money if you're not billing it that way. Okay, so the key takeaway is that you can still do, you can price it weekly if that's what you choose to say, and you can say it's billed monthly. But on the membership agreement, $50 a week billed monthly is actually $216. If somebody asks, it's like, well, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you times that out by 52 divided by 12, that's what it is. But again, talking to people who do this is not just my idea. This is people doing this. And these were people like, one guy I was talking to, he sold his business. He does other stuff now, but he had a really successful gym and he billed monthly. And it's just things like that because, for a lot of businesses that, for example, I use that $20,000 number just as a random thing, is it's sort of the amount of money that you probably should be investing in marketing, in ads every year. If you could just take that, put it into marketing, then it'll make a huge difference to your overall business. So that's the 3 points I wanted to share today for you guys on pricing. I'm just checking if I've got any comments. I've realized that one of the issues about us moving to Zoom is that you guys aren't getting notified of the actual stream like you used to when we were scheduling it in Facebook. So we might go back to scheduling it, because that way I'm getting more people actually on the call and we're getting more comments live. So we might return to scheduling it, so or work out how it is that we can do that. So I don't have any questions here. But yeah, basically it comes down to consider how your business would look if you were on memberships only and not having to manage class passes. And secondly, consider that option to actually be able to charge on, pass on transaction fees. And then that idea of like, are you actually charging what your pricing says you should, or actually, are you actually undercutting yourself? Are you doing something like saying it's $50 a week and then charging $200 a month? There's one more example I wanted to give you, was a guy I did speak to this week when I was doing some research. He owns a CrossFit, and what they do to kind of get the best of both worlds is they charge fortnightly. Because a lot of people say, like, I don't want to charge weekly. I don't want my client getting billed every week. But then vice versa, some people say, I don't want to do it monthly because I don't want them getting this big amount out every month. But fortnightly means that they get 26 transactions every year. So it's the same as weekly, like nothing's missed. It's not considered monthly where you lose 4 weeks of the year. So fortnightly is good in that respect because you get your 26. So again, if you use that price point, $50 a week becomes $100 a fortnight, $2,600. You get the same as if you were paying weekly, but you have less transaction fees than a weekly debit, but you get the full revenue for the year when it's billed fortnightly. So there you go. So that's my just sharing some of what I learned at the Co-Marketing Summit, talking about pricing with people. As you can see, some of those numbers really stack up when you look at a whole year across 100 odd memberships. Some of you have 200 members. These numbers get even bigger. All right, so that's all for today. Next week, I think I'll do another update on the on ads for you guys, because we're getting up to promotion time of the year before we get to December. December is a really hard time to promote until you get to Boxing Day. So November is a really important time. We're seeing some really good results of people putting like text in their images of their ads. I'll just drop that one now and I'll give you more updates next week. We'll talk about more ad stuff next week. So if you've got any questions and you're watching the replay of this, just let us know in the comments and we'll get back to you. If you've got your own feedback on what's your experience been with pricing. I didn't even talk about raising your prices here. That's an obvious one. In terms of maximizing profitability, small increments frequently rather than large increments every now and then. So yeah, feel free to share with the community here. If you're, whether you're on my page, on our YouTube, or in the just in our Facebook community area is probably the best place to do it. Share with the community there. What's your experience been with pricing? What strategies have you found worked in terms of optimizing your profits so that you can deliver more and more service to your clients?